Hello, and welcome back to Method Muse, where we talk about science-based manifestation methods and concepts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this topic. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about cultivating authentic friendships for co-creation and manifestation, and why these authentic connections, why honest interaction is important for manifesting the life that you desire. Well, it starts with neural safety stability. We are biological safety systems. I will say this over and over and over again because it is so important to understand that that is the basis for everything we do, everything we think and feel, is that we are biological survival systems. We want to feel secure, we want to feel safe, and we need co-regulation from other humans to thrive. Now, we may not need this absolutely directly, although it does help. Everybody's got a certain level of introversion, extroversion, in the middle, but we all need some kind of access to the connection to others to be able to expand our ideas and our understanding of the matrix construct, this reality that we're living in. So, for example, like babies, they can't self-regulate without a person holding them, touching them, cluing them into their nervous system for them to be able to calm down and stabilize because they have no program for nervous system stabilization. So if they don't get enough attention when babies are very, very little, they will basically not make it because it's called failure to thrive. Their nervous system just runs itself out, basically. They don't have anybody to help them stabilize, so it just runs the energy out until all of those stress hormones just flood the system and shut it down. And it's really, really terrible. And it can happen to people too. The same thing can happen to people. We respond to each other's nervous system states. If someone is constantly stressed out, you're going to be constantly triggered by their stress just by seeing it because of mirror neurons. You'll basically literally mimic what you perceive their state to be based on their expressions, based on their smell, the sound of their voice, their tone, the things that they're saying. All of these things are feeding information into you about what's going on in the environment. Now, this is emotional contagion, and the reason it exists is because in survival systems with human beings, when, before all of this technology and all of this, you know, industrialized safety, but, safer than it used to be, we would have to run as a group. We would have to run as a flock, as a herd, right? If there is danger, you will notice that, even now, people will mob, they will run together, they will react together if, enough of them are, in a dominant state of nervous system, fight or flight, like we gotta go now, and they're not going to stop to ask questions. They don't know what they're running from, but they're like, no, my best bet for survival is to go where everybody else is going, right? And this happens all the time. I mean, this happens on social media when we see people like cancel culture, these like, oh, this just happened recently too in Vegas. There was this woman yelling at a vendor, and I think this went viral and everything. And this woman was yelling at a vendor, and she was claiming to be from these companies, right? And she wasn't from these companies, but just because that video went viral of her behavior and her saying she was affiliated with these countries, a bunch of people started boycotting the companies. They had nothing to do with it, but it was the mob mentality of, okay, if this many people are in it, then it must be right. And this is probably, important to my survival. And our brains can't tell, our brains and nervous systems can't tell that the difference between social survival and, a mean email from our boss and a lion about to attack us. It treats it the same because our shared values, our shared values create a vibration. Okay. They create a frequency. And when people are tuned into fear and panic and anxiety, especially if it's all the time, their nervous system is exhausted from being activated all the time, just like it is with social media and the media these days, right? Constantly being overactivated. They will start to go with whatever seems the most safe. We all do this. This is a very natural feature of our system staying alive. So Creating shared values and priorities within your social groups helps to reinforce the identity predictive system of the group. And building new rituals means making sure that everyone involved is able to perform the rituals, for one. This could be things as simple as handshakes. Lots and lots of people in the United States and in Europe, I believe, I'm not sure where all, but most of the people in the United States recognize a handshake, right? This is why we have, standards of politeness. This is why we have etiquette. This is why we have, social rules, because we're trying to predict what other people will do and to keep ourselves safe. Is this a safe person? Are they acting according to the standard rules of safety? So our brain makes a shortcut because it's trying to save energy. But, part of it also is, wanting to feel seen, heard, and connected, wanting to feel safe within the system. And ignoring the needs of any, aspect of your system degrades the stability of the whole. So the same is true of our system, but we can't have them draining resources from the whole, right? That we need to get the nodes operational and self-sovereign and mostly self-run, self-regulate, right? Because then when we come together, that regulation creates a co-creation that is stable and coherent and aligned. You don't want coherent without aligned, and you don't want aligned without coherent. Because coherent means that it's working, but it's not working very well. And it's not going well for the people involved, kind of like most societies today, right? And aligned can mean that you fall in and it makes sense for you, but it may not actually work for you in a physical, regular sense. Like I am very aligned with being, on a beach right now, hanging out, but my physical reality isn't like immediately aligned to that right this second. So you see how, it's not coherent for me to be on a beach if I'm in a desert, right? If I'm in a desert, then I can't be on a beach. If I'm on a beach, unless there's a beach in the desert, but in this particular case, there's no beach available right now. So creating authentic social alignment is also very important because if I say that I want to be on a beach because it gets me validation and attention from others, and they're like, yeah, that's an amazing idea. Let's go be on a beach. But my body is screaming, I don't want to be on a beach. I don't want sand in my butt. I don't want to deal with the fish or the crabs or the possibility of stepping on a jellyfish. I don't want to deal with any of that. But we do it anyway to abandon ourselves for the perceived validation of others. Because they spoke their approval, we assumed validation, right? We don't actually know what's going on their planet. We don't know if they really agree with it. This makes me think of Regina George telling the one girl that she liked her skirt and said it was a terrible skirt behind her back on that movie Mean Girls. Yeah, this is exactly it. You don't really know what people really mean when they say it. And I've seen so many people like just suck down validation that was just inane conversation. It didn't really even mean anything, and then ran with it, and they weren't checking in with themselves, and they weren't making sure that it was actually aligned with their values and priorities and needs or any of that stuff. It's like the validation took a front seat to everything else. And this is natural in our system. This isn't something to be ashamed of. It's like I said, these emotions exist to keep us socially connected, to keep our social systems coherent and working together and moving together as one for our group's survival. This is why this happens. But it's also very important to recognize authentic alignment and inauthentic desires. Because when you're trying to manifest from a place of inauthenticity, you're going to get an identity system crash. You're going to get huge amounts of resistance unless you recognize that this isn't really the kind of story that you want. Here's a good one. I thought I wanted a big house, like a big house, really big. Like I could have like balls if I wanted to, right? And I was like, yeah, I want a really big house. So I actually ended up living in a couple really big houses, and now I don't want a big house. Like, no, this wasn't what I thought. We as humans are actually really terrible at predicting what will make us happy because we predict it on factors as simple as this person is smiling, they must be happy. And this thing looks really shiny, it must be wonderful. And, even in high school, I wrote this story about this diamond in the middle of a lake that everybody thought was so amazing. And they're like, oh my gosh, if we could just get there. But it was like, way, way far away so they couldn't get to it. But by the time somebody actually finally got to it and they spent everything that they had trying to get it there first, they found out it was really just made of glass. And it wasn't anything. It wasn't important at all. And it was just their perception that it was the most valuable thing. And because everybody else thought so too, it made sense, right? These are fallacies. These are the common fallacies that we fall into. It's important to know as a master manifestor. It is. If you want to master manifestation, get to know the fallacies, get to know the shadows. You don't have to investigate every single one, but pay attention especially to the ones that apply to the manifestations you're trying to bring through. And make sure that you are aligned with you first. You are the one managing your planet, not the outside world. The validation needs to come from you. Do I feel good about this? Actually, better yet, if you need to externalize it, do it with your body. Is my body validating this? Is my body feeling good about this? The body is so much smarter than us. These are our ships at sea. They are our lifeboats, and they're smart lifeboats. They've been around forever. They are tapped into the quantum in ways we can never consciously comprehend. This is why I say, certain things like AI will never be smarter than a human being. Intelligence is highly physical. It is more than just thinking and compiling information, right? And this is why you got to tap into you and really investigate yourself. Be curious about what you think and feel and what kind of experience you really want to have socially and individually. What kind of people do you want around you? What kind of groups or activities or hobbies light you up? This is where you're going to find true friends. This is where you're going to find true community and true stability and purpose. So I hope this has helped you to understand a little bit more about authentic friendships and manifestation, or authentic co-creation, coming together in stable systems. And I know I always call it systems, but I mean, everything to me is a system. In this case, we are individual human systems that are nodes in a greater human system that is part of the world and everything else, right? So kind of categorizing it for me like that helps me break it down. But one of the biggest things about finding an authentic friendship for me is if I find that we don't have exactly the same likes and interests, and sometimes it could vary like hugely greatly, and we may not even have like the same temperament and any of that, but the thing that makes us much more aligned and coherent is that we have the same values and the same priorities. And in any social situation, social person, any human system, anything, you always want to check these values and these priorities, these basics of what your system says you should do or be. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you can learn a lot from systems who have slightly different, but those baselines, you want to check that they're mostly the same, because, you don't want to, get a bunch of friends who don't want to do anything but skydive when you're terrified of heights and all they ever talk about is skydiving and you're not into that. You got to have some base level, you know, understanding of your values and priorities and what kind of experiences you want to have. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for the Method News newsletter in the description below.